Hey everyone, welcome to Lemon Live at 5. We're so glad that you're here. Thank you. We have a very packed show for you. So I'm going to get right to it. We have some breaking news as we start the program tonight. The Washington Post is one of the most respected journalistic institutions in this country, has been for a while. It may have been delivered a death blow today. Certainly a crippling blow as it relates to credibility and the standard of journalism. As just one more sign, really, of this billionaire class who is willing to accommodate Trump's weird fascistic tendencies so long as they stay rich. Maybe they're afraid of what he's going to say if he becomes president. I don't know. So Jeff Bezos, he owns Amazon, he owns the Washington Post, and I'm really torn about this because I think he's a really smart guy that has done some great things for this country. But Jeff Bezos killed the paper's planned endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris today. They had already written it and they were ready to put it out, and he killed it and said no. This is the first time, everyone, in 36 years that the Post will not endorse a candidate. In response, the editor at large, his name is Robert Kagan, has resigned. Many, many more are expected to follow him. There are some who believe that Bezos may have killed the paper that broke Watergate. How concerned should we be about this? Remember, just to give you some context, the Los Angeles Times, the same thing happened just a day ago. Their editor resigned as well after its owner killed its endorsement as well. How concerned should we be about this? And by this increasingly sort of fascistic threats by Trump to jail his political opponents and to allow for Trumpism by the rich people, guys, really, who are controlling the media. I have the perfect person to talk to about this. A friend of mine, he's a former friend of my former show on CNN. His name is Alex Holder. He is a great documentary filmmaker, documentarian. He is the founder of AJH Film. He also directed films. He also directed the 2022 miniseries Unprecedented. That's when I first met you. Correct, Alex? When we spoke
Yep.
about that, your first time in, I believe, on cable news and doing anything in the media that as it relates to promoting a documentary or anything. Unprecedented chronicled Donald Trump's 2020 re-election campaign and his bid to stay in power no matter what. So we're going to talk about all of this. But is this concerning to you as a documentarian, as someone who is in the journalistic field, that all of a sudden the Washington Post and others are saying, hey, we're not going to go with tradition and we're not going to, endorse anyone?
Sure. I mean, look, if there was one person to endorse in this situation, would be the vice president. I mean, we know what 4 years of Donald Trump looks like. We've been there, we've done that, and to make this decision now, I just think is incredibly unusual and unfortunate. And I think it'll be interesting to see why this decision was taken.
Would you consider yourself part of independent media, Alex?
I hope so. I think so. I would say that what I do, at least in terms of documentary filmmaking, is to make sure that we have a balanced, fair, neutral point of view and allow people to come to their own conclusions. With respect to the Washington Post, and that's a very different type of media. My own personal opinion, though, is that they probably should have, specifically because of the fact they have done for the past, and that it is Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think that it's very clear who's who and what is what in this particular campaign, this particular campaign season or year. I just worry about the people. The news is becoming so condensed with just a couple of owners, most of them entertainment companies or just big corporations. And the corporate oligarchs are kind of saying, hey, we don't want this particular thing. We want the narrative to go a certain way. We control the purse strings. So journalists, who is part of this corporation now, we own the company you work for. If you don't, first of all, you're not doing this, right? And if you want to, if you do it, you might be in a position to lose your job. That should be concerning to all Americans, considering our First Amendment, which is freedom of the press, Alex.
Yeah, and I think that's why what you're doing and others is so cool, right? I mean, so many people are now not actually consuming media through the usual places. I think we're going to probably see some of the vox pops that you've done with young voters coming up who say that they get their media from podcasts and from all sorts of different places. And I think that is a really great thing. So you have your own viewpoints. People can. The problem, I think, is where people only listen to the things they want to, what they already agree with. Right. I think the echo chamber is a problem, but in general, having these live streams, having these types of independent shows online is fantastic, and people have the ability to hear you and listen to what you've got to say.
Yeah, we're trying to get the sun out of my eyes. It's not working, so it's
It looks great.
that's not nothing you can do. We're on the road. We have been doing, I don't know, if a road tour. I don't know if you know about that. Going to all the swing states plus others that are not swing states and just getting people's opinion. We're in Washington D.C. today. Wait till you see the content that we're going to put on. Whew, you guys are it's gonna be something, as they say. So listen, Jeff Bezos in an interview in 2023 talked about why he bought the Washington Post, and he said it was a fluke. But he also stressed his commitment to journalism, the great institution that is the Washington Post, or maybe was the Washington Post. So it's interesting now to go back. Let's look at that interview and see if it jives with what he is doing now as it relates to the endorsement of candidates. Here it is, or non-endorsement. Here it is.
First of all, I was not looking for a newspaper. I had no intention of buying a newspaper. I had never thought about the idea, had never occurred to me. It was never something, it wasn't like a childhood dream, nothing. And my friend, Don Graham, who at that time I had known 15 years, I know him 20 years now, he approached me through an intermediary and wanted to know if I would be interested in buying the Washington Post. And I sent back word that I would not, because I didn't really know anything about newspapers. And Don, over a series of conversations, convinced me that that was unimportant because we had, inside the Washington Post, we have so much talent that understands newspapers. That wasn't what the problem was. What they needed was somebody who had an understanding of the internet. And so that was the first thing. That's kind of how it got started. And then I did some soul searching. And again, my decision-making process, something like this, would definitely be intuition and not analysis. The financial situation of the Washington Post at that time, this is 2013, was very upside down. The problem was a secular one. The internet was just eroding all of the traditional advantages that local newspapers had, all of them. And I said, is this something I want to get involved in? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to put some heart into it and some work into it. And I decided I would only do that if I really believed it was an important institution. And I said to myself, if this were a financially upside down, salty snack food company, the answer would be no. As soon as I started thinking about it that way, I was like, this is an important institution. It is the newspaper in the capital city of the most important country in the world. The Washington Post has an incredibly important role to play in this democracy. There's just no doubt in my mind about that. And so as soon as I had passed through that gate, I only had one more gate that I had to go through before telling Don yes, and that was I wanted to look myself, be really open with myself and look in a mirror and sort of think about the company and be sure that I was optimistic that it could work, because if it were hopeless, that would also be not something I would get involved in. And I looked at that, and I was super optimistic. And it needed to be transitioned to a national and a global publication. There's one gift that the internet brings newspapers, and that is free global distribution. So we had to take advantage of that gift. And
there we go. Okay, so listen, basically he is touting the greatness and the importance of the Washington Post. And basically, I would imagine saying the Washington Post, it should be independent journalists, and the world needs to hear and read and see what the journalists at the Washington Post is doing. What do you? To me, it doesn't make sense. It seems like a contradiction now. I haven't seen a statement from him, but it seems like a contradiction where he's saying this wasn't a money thing. I revered the Washington Post. It should be revered, and we're going to stick to the institution of journalism. So what gives here, Alex?
I mean, number one, I think it's surprising that it took him that long to come to the conclusion that the Washington Post was a big deal, and that was an interesting line that he said in that conference. But look, we're assuming that he decided against this for financial reasons, but maybe he decided to get this for other reasons. I mean, who knows? I don't know the guy, but I think I mean, I was just looking on Twitter or X, and the reaction is quite remarkable. I mean, the number of people that are posting cancellations to their subscriptions and saying this is the October surprise. I mean, does it really make a difference? I mean, that's also a separate point, right? I mean, I think this is a principal point, which is why they didn't do it for this particular election cycle. But will this actually make a difference, in the grand scheme of things? Probably not, right? But
Yeah,
I think it's a story. It's an odd one because it would have been so easy just to publish what they had already written, right? I mean, no one would have batted their eyelids. Yeah.
So to that end, and I want to talk to you about your film, but to that end, how much of a responsibility do you think that do journalists have in this moment? And I mean, you've got people who are standing up at the Washington Post who are saying, you know what, this is not right. I'm out of here. I don't believe, and I'm not in that position, but I don't believe that they can fire everyone. Do you know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
I think that at some point you have to make a stand. So I'm wondering, everyone always blames the media, and I hate that. How much of it is the media's fault that they're allowing themselves to be treated that way? And partially the corporation is not really allowing them to do their work.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing, the media, we hate the media. I mean, number one, a lot of that comes from Donald Trump, right? I mean, he's been saying how the media are, the devil incarnate, etc., and the mainstream media are terrible. I mean, the mainstream media are terrible up until the point where they like him, and in which case, then they're the best, right? I mean, I think journalists do have, when it comes to something like this, a very important role. And one, obviously, to tell the truth and to hold people in power accountable, right? I mean, that's the fundamental point, I think. But two, in this particular case, I think when you've got former secretaries of defense and the former joint chiefs of staff coming out and saying that Donald Trump is a real threat to democracy and to this country, and these are people who don't really talk about politics at all. I mean, especially former military officials or current military officials talking about politics is pretty it's controversial and it's rare. So for them to come out and say this, I think we do need to take it seriously. And I think journalists should be able to say what they want to say. Obviously, if you work for a corporation, you have to obviously follow those rules. If you don't agree with those rules, you can choose to leave. And I know that in certain publications, what you can and can't tweet. I come from the UK originally, where the rules there are very different to the US. You guys obviously have your First Amendment, so I think there is an interesting perhaps contradiction there, maybe. But in general, I would say that journalists have a huge responsibility to tell the truth and to hold politicians accountable, and to allow people to come to their own positions. If they want, they can also say what their opinion is, but that's a separate point.
Yeah. So listen, this is a very interesting conversation that I watched last night, that took place last night at my former place, and with one of my former colleagues and someone I know as well, Charlemagne, about the role of the media and the responsibility of the folks who are in media and who do have some autonomy over what they can say. And this is a very interesting conversation. I want you to watch it. We're not going to play all of it, but I'll try to play as much as possible so that you guys can see it. You guys who are watching, I want your take on it, and I want Alex's as well. So everyone just watches. I think it's an important conversation. Here it is.
Apparently, apparently Trump's is going to tape a thing with Joe Rogan. Do you think she should do that?
I think that she should keep calling Donald Trump a fascist. And I think that Americans need to keep looking at the rhetoric of Donald Trump, because I don't know why we're even thinking about electing somebody who's talking about putting people in camps. I don't know why why we want to elect somebody who's talking about mass deportation. I don't know why we're having this conversation about somebody who wants to terminate the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. Aren't we supposed to be a patriotic country? Whenever somebody like Colin Kaepernick takes a knee in this country, everybody talks about, oh, that's so unpatriotic. But a guy can say he wants to terminate the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election and nobody cares. And like even me bringing it up now, you brought it back to Kamala and Joe Rogan. Anderson,
yeah,
who gives a damn?
Well, I mean, I think you give damn who's elected president, and
Yeah,
I'm
especially
asking
if that
you.
president is a fascist. That's talking about putting people in camps. That's talking about, once again, terminating the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. That's talking about, jailing his political opponents. Like, that rhetoric doesn't scare people?
We talk about this every single. This is what
I don't think
I've been
y'all talk
talking
about
about
it
this
enough.
every night.
I don't think y'all have enough conversations about it. I feel like I heard more on this network about is Kamala Harris black than I do about, Donald Trump being a fascist.
Well,
am I wrong, Angela?
Honestly, that's bullshit. I'm sorry.
Oh, I like that.
That's no,
Go
that
ahead,
is
Anderson.
no. I'm not. Look, I'm a huge fan of yours.
Okay.
But to say that we're sitting around discussing is Kamala Harris black, like
I've seen that. I've seen
that's
those roundtable
definitely
discussions
on.
a lot. Now
That's
that's
true.
bullshit, Anderson. For you to say that y'all don't have those conversations.
I've never asked somebody is.
I'm not saying
Kamala
you.
Harris
I said
Not
the
you.
network.
He said the network. He
I
did
don't
say
think
the
anyone
network.
I don't think any anchor on this network has been going around saying, is she black?
Y'all have never
It's
had
definitely,
we have
been.
had look, I'm sure we have had nutty people or people who have strongly held beliefs who I may disagree with, who somewhere on some panel have said something, but I will just speak up for what I do on the show. I do believe it's important to get people different viewpoints as long as they're willing to have a legitimate conversation. What I don't like are surrogates who come out and just spout talking points that they don't even believe, and those are people I tried to eliminate from having ever on the air again.
I think no network has honest conversations about Donald Trump. Nobody's had honest conversations about Donald Trump since 2016. I saw last night they were talking about, the double standard that exists between Donald Trump and the vice president, but it's always a double standard with Trump, whether it's with Hillary, whether it's, against Biden, now with Kamala. We talk about him being a threat to democracy, but we don't treat him like one.
I mean, I don't know what you've been watching, but I don't know of any Trump supporters out there or people who like him who are tuning in to me every night to try to get, to be validated in their opinions. I don't know. I don't know. I disagree.
I don't think it's about validating. What you mean, validating the Trump?
Well, you're saying that we're not. That I guess you're saying I'm not discussing all the things he is saying and doing and pointing it out and talking to what John Kelly. I mean.
Oof. What did you think?
I mean, the mere fact that the conversation, I think there's a few points there. One is the mere fact that you've got a conversation being had about, the color of the vice president's skin, and this is, this is what Donald Trump does to politics today, right? I mean, it's so toxic, and it's just really, really shitty, right? And I think, to me, that's the bit that I took away from that. The fact that this guy is so upset that this issue is not being spoken about, more, or is actually that they're speaking about this issue rather than the fact that Trump is this fascist or is an incredible danger to society. I mean, the fact that we're talking about these issues is because of Donald Trump, and I think that's terrible. I mean, the point that he's making, which is the responsibility to call him out for being a danger. I mean, I'm sure CNN will say that they try and keep the conversation balanced, and but he's right. I mean, no one who supports Trump is going and watching CNN and to have their views vindicated, right? I mean, I think they would choose other networks for that. But the point of the guest is to say that the issue shouldn't be about this nonsense that Trump spouts. It should be about the danger that he poses, and it's true. I mean, and I think that Fox News and others should be talking about this as well. He is a very dangerous guy.
Do you think the model, quickly, if you can, the model by which we do news, obviously it's changing, especially broadcast news. Do you think that it is, and I'm not just talking about CNN, I'm talking about broadcast in general, that it is in need of an overhaul, that it needs to change, and they need to figure out how to move into the now and into the future?
Yeah, absolutely, without question. I think that I mean, sure. I mean, you can look at Trump likes to talk about the ratings, right? I mean, I know the ratings are down, but the main thing is that young people are not watching, mainstream broadcasting.
Don't I know? I'm out on a road with my social team, and everybody's under 30. Well, maybe, I don't know, who knows, but they're all young. Nobody watches television. Occasionally they do, if it's something big. They watch it, if there's a ball game on, of something that they need to watch that's live. But it's just an interesting model that I see. um I'm more interested in watching independent media now, and I never thought I would say that coming from traditional media. So listen, before I want to just talk to you, because you have reported on the lengths that Donald Trump will go to, including in the media, shaping the narrative. um he will do, I think, anything to secure power again. Do you believe that he will do anything to secure power again, including leveraging his relationships with the rich billionaires who control media companies?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. I mean, no question. I mean, I think yeah, the Donald Trump will do everything he possibly can to win, and he will try his hardest to to gain power again and be in that White House. And in the event that the election is close and the results start coming out slower, like they did last time round, he is going to do what he's always done. I mean, the playbook is done. We've seen it. It will happen again.
Yeah.
The only difference now is that he's not in the White House, so the power, the infrastructure, the mechanisms are different. So I think, yeah, but yes, absolutely. I mean, yeah. Donald Trump is Donald Trump, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about the sort of who has influence in the media and who doesn't. And you mentioned it. Do you mind going through some of the sound bites of what we've been seeing since we've been out here, Alex, and
Please,
responding to it? Okay.
of
So
course.
this is a student that we were at. What was university we were at last night? Virginia Commonwealth University. This is a young man who, once he started speaking, I knew exactly where he got his news from. And he says he gets it mostly from streamers, influencers, podcasters, most of them to the right. He doesn't even see them as that far to the right. I think he probably thought that they were somehow centered. And when you sort of move away from traditional media, I think really, the pro of traditional media is that there are editorial standards that you have to go through, right? The con of it is that when you're moving away from it, there are no editorial standards, and people are watching these podcasts and they're getting their information from places where truth and facts don't really matter, and many of them are right wing. So this is what some young people were telling us they get their information, and then we're going to talk about other things as well. So here's a student, a young man.
For president, yeah.
For president, and how you feeling?
I'm gonna be voting for Trump.
How you feel though?
I'm feeling good.
What are your reasons? What are your policies? What are your issues?
Economy and just, yeah, probably for me, economy and the immigration crisis.
Immigration. What would you like to see? Why economy?
I just think that Trump has more ground in economy, which gives him the most experience in that, and it would improve his, I don't know, just like.
Where do you get your information? Where do you get news?
I try to stay away from mainstream media, more so like reading articles online and listening to podcasts, stuff like that.
Like what podcast?
I watch a lot of Rogan, Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, more conservative guys.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I'm raised conservative.
You're part of the manosphere. Have you heard that term?
Yeah.
That Donald Trump is going after.
Pretty much. I don't watch like the more like extreme ones like Andrew Tate and those ones.
Tim Pool's a little extreme.
Is he?
Come on.
Well, I haven't watched him as much because of the recent stuff that I've seen. He's been like kind of clickbaiting a lot, and I think the numbers are showing that Gen Z is more open to voting for Trump than before, and it could be because of him appearing on podcasts and things like that, but it could also be that Gen Z is just starting to get a little tired of how things are going right now.
Okay, so here's the thing, Alex. He's leveraging his relationship with young men because the women are just not buying his thing for the most part. He's just like, okay, that's never going to happen. He's losing his female voters, and so he is reaching out to in a space, basically an untapped market, right? And it's probably a smart thing, but those are the people who could carry him into power, and not based on accurate information. That's problematic.
Absolutely. I mean, look, number one, I'm pretty confident that if the vice president asked Joe Rogan, or his team reached out to Joe Rogan whether or not she could go on his podcast, I'm sure he would agree. So I think that
but they're not going on.
No, I know exactly, which
Yeah.
I think is just, it's very strange. There is a market there for her to be able to put forward her position and speak to these young students. The fact that he was able, whether we agree with his approach, but the fact that the student was able to understand that their podcasts that are considered extreme means that he is able to he's picking the types of people he's listening to and he's making his own decision as to whether or not they are too extreme or not. Obviously, he likes right-wing sentiments, so he's going to pick those particular podcasts. I would say that people should listen to all podcasts. I think it's very important to hear both sides of the story and not just listen to the things that you already agree with. That to me is more interesting. But yeah, and this is the point. Media's changing, and people need to adapt with it. Is it such a big deal to sit down and do a Fox News? Everyone was talking about how the vice president did this Fox News interview, right? And great, she did it. But she should also, I think, be reaching out to people like this young guy who probably isn't watching Fox News.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of them, and time after time, the same sort of demographic said, "Yeah, I'm voting for him, and this is who I listen to. This is where I get my information from." Also, now here are some young ladies, and they are first-time voters, and they are voting for Donald Trump. They're conservative. Now, when I ask them, because of where they're getting, I believe, their information, when I ask them, what are their policies? What are they voting on? Many times they didn't really know. They were just sort of parroting things that they may have heard from their parents and may have heard from conservative media rather than, facts and actual real information. Here they are.
Or have you voted?
I don't live in this state, and honestly, I didn't register.
You didn't register. So then you can't be a first-time voter then.
Oh, no, but it would be my first time.
Okay. What about you?
I did a mail-in ballot.
Who would you support?
Trump.
And? Are you?
Wait,
do you have us live or
sorry.
something? So if you're voting, so who would you vote for? Who are you going to vote for?
Oh, do I have to say?
You don't have to say. You can
Okay.
tell me. It's none of my darn business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So what are your issues? What do you vote on?
Um,
Why do you support the candidate you support?
no reason. No specifics, honestly.
And same for you?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't vote, so it just.
But if you were voting, you said you'd vote for Trump, but
Yeah.
you don't know why.
Oh no, just where I'm from.
Okay, so
I mean, I don't know what to say. What did you say after that? I mean, what did you what?
I thank you for talking to me. I mean,
Yeah.
what can I say to her? Because
Yeah.
I think our conversation was over. I don't know why. And when she said, this is the way that I was raised or where I'm from, and that's what she's voting on. So they're influenced by their parents. And even beyond. So here's the honest thing, the God's honest truth is that I found that most of the people who were voting for Donald Trump, not all of them, but many of the people, most of them who were voting for Donald Trump, they did not really have a grasp of what policies or why, or even facts about the policies, if they even stated them. But those who were voting for in support of the Vice President Kamala Harris knew that women's reproductive rights, immigration, healthcare, and they could talk about, they could articulate with some degree of intelligence the issues with which they were voting on. I'm going to show you those in a minute, Alex, but I just want to show you some of the apathy in young people now. And I believe in large part because of our political system, but also because of our media as well. They are confused about what to do and they're not motivated. There's apathy. This is a young man who says he's not voting. And even though he's a college student, he hasn't done research and he does not feel intelligent and tuned in enough to be able to make a good decision. Here it is.
To vote.
Yes.
Are you registered?
Yes.
Are you going to vote?
Probably not. No.
Why not?
Because I don't have any knowledge. I'm not going to vote on someone if I don't know what I'm voting for.
You're a college student.
Yes, I am.
Don't you do research and study all the time?
Yes, I do, but I don't keep up with everything. I don't have enough time to do every point of research to make a decision that's good for me.
Do you know when they say young people don't vote, we can't rely on that demographic, that you're probably the reason?
Yeah, I understand that. I'm not one of those people that complains about that. I understand that. I'm part of the problem because I'm not voting. I mean, I'm not voting this year, but say 4 years, I might have enough time to actually have an education on what I'm voting about.
Are you okay with whoever wins?
Yeah, I mean, who wins? Is, I mean,
Okay.
there's more people than just me, you know.
If you had to at this point, who would you?
I mean, I can't say anyone because I don't have enough knowledge. I don't have a single person I could really say. I'm in the middle.
Alex?
Yeah, I mean, look, on the point you mentioned before, I don't think a lot of people don't vote for Trump because of his policies. They vote for Trump because it's a protest vote. It's a way to put two fingers up against the establishment. I mean, or they're voting for him, because they think he's a good businessman, or he's a scary, kind of guy that will stop all the chaos that's going on around the world. And I don't think they're voting for him because he's going to necessarily, because of his tax policy, right? I mean, I'm sure there are certainly some people who are doing that, potentially Jeff Bezos, but there are certainly people who are, voting for him because of the fact that it's Donald Trump, right? And it's not, the usual kind of person that we're used to. But that's very disappointing that, that young man is saying that he doesn't know the information and doesn't want to know the information to be able to vote. And those young ladies also not understanding why they're doing what they're doing. You're making me very nervous.
Yeah. Making you very nervous?
Yes, very nervous. I hope that, I mean, there's can you imagine 4 years ago when we were sitting down and I was doing my first interview, right? I'd just been subpoenaed by Congress, and to think that 4 years later, we'll be doing this again, and there's a very good chance that he's coming back to power. I mean, it was all over. January 6th, the chaos, the insurrection, it's just bonkers.
Yeah.
I don't really have it.
And here we are. Here we are, and I do believe there's a lot of blame to go around, and there are a lot of reasons. And one reason is, I want to stick with these college students. Let's see. Which one do I want to play? This is a young man we saw last night at the same university, at the same school, who said that he knew his policies. He said, I love her. And he said business was an issue for him. And there were other things. He was able to articulate his support of Kamala Harris in ways that, as I said, the Trump supporting students and others, adults, people who are beyond college, were not able to articulate. Here's a young man.
Ready for something new. Oh my gosh, Kamala Harris, I love her. Just is what we need right now in this moment. The middle class, oh my goodness. Yeah. Small business, oh my gosh. My father owns a contracting company, and my sister and my two nieces, they make candles, and they're small business, and they're struggling to survive right now.
She wants to give money to small businesses for startups.
Yes, okay. Child tax credits, oh my goodness.
She wants to give for healthcare.
Pregnant right now, yes. Abortion is healthcare. Thank you.
And you hear historically, he is going to get more black male voters than in the past.
Yeah. Well, I know some people are like that, but I believe they're misogynist, and they don't want to see a woman in power, and it's really bad. And it shouldn't be that way.
Okay, one more before I get to it. This is Morehouse, two young men who articulated their support for the vice president as well. This is in Atlanta. Here it is.
The right person gets in office.
And who is that?
Well, I think we know Kamala and Waltz.
2024.
And
Kamala
you?
and Waltz, same thing.
You feel the same way?
Same way.
Are you confident in the outcome?
I am very confident in the outcome.
Are you confident?
I'm confident that we see the stark differences in the two political candidates, and I'm hopeful that the electorate makes the right decision.
Why are you confident?
She's a great mind, great support behind her, and
people have the same confidence around campus, you believe?
I believe so, definitely.
I think so. Because on campus, she's very involved. She's been helping us. She also the campaign's been on the campus pavement pounding, giving out flyers, holding events. They offered to let us, cater one of their events with our food truck. They've been very active rather than, I haven't seen any other presence from the other side. So I think that everyone here has an idea that this is important and we need to do what's the right thing.
But he loves the blacks.
I don't know if he does that. I don't know if that's for real. I think somebody can say something and not really practice what they preach.
He might love them, but I don't know if he's supportive of us enhancing our spot in society.
Okay. And there was more of that for Morehouse. I had to look at when I was at Morehouse College, which is the only college or university that's dedicated strictly to black men, as historically black, at HBCU's historically black college and university. Those kids were smart and they knew why. I wonder if it's because there was more on the line for them, if it's because of their families, if it's the history of the country. I don't know what it was, but I don't know. What do you think, Alex?
Well, I like that I mean, is that the last clip? 'Cause I'm very happy that that was, hopefully the last, because it's making me feel a bit more confident. Look, I think that they are educated, switched on. They, understand the importance. The first clip of the young guy saying how, the impact of politics is affecting his life directly. Right, his dad's a small business owner, so these guys are plugged in. They understand, and I think that. If there's the biggest blame, I would say, if you want to talk about blame at all, is people like not voting, right? Like, I think the most important thing is to vote. And then, hopefully, as they just said, the electorate will make the right decision. But then you could argue, who are we to say that the electorate will make a decision and it will be right one way or another, right?
Yeah.
So
it'll be the one that they want, whatever that is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's the most important thing.
All right, let me just, you for coming from me. I think this is the last one I'm going to play for you. But I just want you, this is a lady that we ran into at the Washington Monument today, an older lady. And I think, I love it that older people, they just speak the truth. They do not care. Where she talked about him being a criminal. She talked about racism and on. But I want your honest take, and I want your take in the comments. Okay, so everybody listen to this lady.
Already voted?
Yeah.
Where do you live?
In Michigan.
In Michigan.
Eastern Michigan.
And so what did you vote, red or blue?
Democrat. Straight Democrat.
You did?
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Because they're the best hope for our country.
Yeah?
The other one's a criminal for himself.
You think he's a criminal? Well, he is a criminal, right?
Yeah, he's been convicted. So that makes him a criminal.
What's important to you? What issues?
The economy, jobs, of course, housing, you name it.
You think Kamala Harris is better on those issues?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trump is for himself, so.
Yeah. Who do you think's gonna win?
I'm hoping Kamala do, but this is still racist America shit. You never know.
You think America's racist?
No, I know it is. I live here.
What do you think? She said it has to, a lot of it or some of it has to do with racism, and that's why she's concerned. I said, do you think? She goes, yeah, I know it is.
Yeah, I mean, she's been there, she's done that, she's, she knows what she's saying, and I mean, wow, I mean, that was a great interview, and there's a lot riding on this, and there's just a lot riding on this, and I think I'm just very hopeful that her decision ends up being the end result.
Alex, did I talk to you enough about what you came on to, about the threat that Donald Trump is? I mean, I think your film really conveyed that, and about him doing whatever he can to secure power. Do you believe that he will declare victory on election night or soon thereafter, and then say that he won, throw chaos into the mix, and then we have the possibility of having a repeat of what happened in 2016 and then, unfortunately at the Capitol in 2017?
2020.
In 2020, sorry.
Yes.
2020,
Yes.
so pardon me,
Yeah.
2020 and 2021. Sorry about that, yes.
Yes. I mean, the only difference, like I said, is that he isn't in the White House. So I think that there's an advantage there. That's sort of one point. The other as well is also that I think that the vice president has already said that they've put things in place to ensure that there will be calm, hopefully. And I also hope people don't listen to him if he says he's won when in fact he hasn't. And they should wait until the results are all counted and everyone should be calm. But do I think he's going to do that? Absolutely, yes. I mean, he is Donald Trump, and I'm nervous for the next few days after the election. Absolutely.
Okay, last thing. This is these are the lines that I think Democrats are hoping will happen on election day. As my team gets ready to tell me they got to go. These are the lines. This is a line in Houston to get into the rally with Kamala Harris and Beyonce, and we'll put that up. But I think that people are hoping that these kinds of lines for Kamala Harris will happen as well on election day. Let's watch. Okay, that's a long line, and that was earlier today. Do you think that's going to happen? I mean, who knows,
Oh,
right,
I mean,
Alex?
who knows? But what is cool is that it's certainly a longer line than any of the lines I saw at Trump rallies. So, you know, she's winning on that for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, but let's see what happens. All I would say is people should go out, should vote, and let's see. Deep breaths.
And support independent media, because we get to talk freely here like we don't on
Absolutely.
corporate media and
Absolutely.
and support people like Alex Holder, who is also in independent media as well. He's a documentary filmmaker, the founder of AJH Films, directed the 2022 miniseries Unprecedented, which chronicled Donald Trump's 2020 re-election campaign and his bid to stay in power no matter what. Is it still on? What platform is it on where we can get it?
It's on Max.
On Max.
Yeah.
Great.
It's on Max.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alex,
Yeah.
you're a good sport. Come back
Thank you,
anytime.
Don.
We'd
Thank
love to
you.
have you. Okay.
Absolutely. It was a
All right.
pleasure.
All right.
Lovely
Thank
seeing
you,
you.
Alex Holder. Thank
Take
you.
it easy.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope that you have been enjoying, or at least tuning into. I know it's a little scary of our stuff from the road. And we have much more. Go check us out on all the platforms, on all of our social media platforms, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on this platform as well on YouTube. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, the like, and subscribe buttons. And I will try to bring you some stuff this weekend. Maybe we'll go on to talk about all the things that I have seen on the road this weekend. I think I want to do that so that I can gauge how you feel about it, because we have a lot more content that's going to come out through the weekend, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. And I'll do a show, I promise you, where I'm just going to read your comments and we're just going to respond to the things that we saw. Okay. And so let me know, you're going to watch the Beyonce rally with the Kamala Harris rally with Beyonce tonight. Let me know. But thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Subscribe, it's free. Also follow us on all of our social media sites, and we will see you sometime very soon. Be safe and have a fantastic Friday evening. I hope you're with your family, you're enjoying it. Maybe you're having a cold one or a cocktail or whatever, but be safe, enjoy health, and be healthy. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps us with the algorithm. And also, we'd love for you to become a subscriber. So hit that button too. We're live every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Eastern, so there's plenty of content for you to check out.